Welcome to the source. The source.
I don't play around with that, man. Like 4 o'clock. If I say 4 o'clock, we're going on at 4 o'clock. I don't care if the guests aren't here. I go on by myself at 4 o'clock and wait.
Get the source.
What's up, everybody?
Good practice.
Hope you're all having a nice Thursday. Didn't place any bets last night. Couldn't find anything I really liked, and honestly, it was a good decision because I was leaning towards Eastern Michigan. They lost. And then the other one I said Ohio or over. Well, Ohio would have won, but the over would have lost. Yeah, sometimes, in poker, if you fold the losing hand, that's a winning decision. So deciding to pass when I didn't really like my looks, when I would have lost, I'm counting it as a win. I didn't lose when I would have lost. So tonight I did bet both the football games. First, we're going to go through the 4 basketball games. See if I actually haven't even looked. So I'm just listening to these guys here. First one, isn't this line a little short? I mean, the Pistons have Duren. Shouldn't they dominate? They're more rested. I didn't look at it. Just at first glance, in my opinion, Pistons should dominate the rebounding battle in this game. Am I off with that?
Go ahead, Ski.
I don't think you're off at all. I mean, Duren versus Grant Williams. I think they should absolutely dominate on the rebounds. This is the one game. I mean, these aren't great games that we have today in general, but it's hard for me to pick a side. The Pistons have won a few in a row. No, they lost. I don't know. This is the one game I really want to pass. I don't know who to pick in this game. I know the Pistons are the more rested team. Hornets have 4th game in 6 nights. I was trying my hardest to find reasons to back them. Their offense has been better. They've been the better defense lately. Just pretty much to win the game, I lean towards the Pistons.
Yeah, I want to take the Pistons too. And Duren, remember, if you guys remember, the last time these 2 games played, I had Pistons +2, and it closed at -1, and they ended up losing by 1. So the closing line lost and the opening line won. Duren only played 8 minutes in that game. That was the game he got hurt, and I bet the Pistons expecting Duren to just clean it up on the boards. So now that Duren's healthy, as long as there's no Mark Williams and no Richards for the Hornets are kind of a fade to me. I know everyone's loving LaMelo right now. He looks like the man, highlights out of this world. But I don't think the Hornets are a good basketball team until they get those guys back in the rotation. So I honestly might bet this, to be honest.
Cal, don't bet it. Don't bet it, Cal, because I actually like it too. And every time we come up with a bet on the show together, it does not work out well. But you mentioned it's the rebounding battle. Ski mentioned the 2 days rest compared to the 1. You got Detroit coming off a loss as well. They just lost as favorites to the Bulls the other day. And for Charlotte, like you said, the rebounding thing, but it's also revenge spot. Remember when they won that game? I don't know. I was watching. Brandon Miller got a tip in with no time left off a terrible possession for Charlotte. Like, I don't know. Somebody shot a 3. I don't even think it touched the rim. It just hit the backboard, which is why he ended up with the tip. So you got a little bit of revenge as well. Detroit had actually won and covered 3 straight in the head-to-head matchup. So, yeah, I like Detroit, too. I did play under in this game, though. I will say that. I played under. It was 221.5 last night. All the other books had it at 219.5. The total's going up. I don't agree with that. I think Bridges is listed. It has been downgraded to potentially questionable. I like that news, but I had already played it last night. The totals are 7-0 to the under in the last 7. Charlotte's not a great offensive team, and if they're not going to have Bridges, I think the offense gets worse. Detroit also plays super slow. Both of these teams bottom 10 in pace, top 10 in bottom 10 in offense, like Ski says, to kind of summarize it. So Pistons 10-5-1 to the under, Hornets 9-5 to the under, including 5-1 to the under if they are a dog. So yeah, I like under. I play under 221. I think it's probably like a 108 to 106 type game. And I do like Detroit. I really want to bet Detroit too, but Kyle, if you're gonna do it, I'm gonna stay on the sideline.
Yeah, someone actually said, so if all 3 of you agree on the Pistons, should I take Hornets?
Yeah,
he was making a joke about because me and Chris have concocted 3 bets together on the show, and I believe it's 0-3. When we've come up like, yeah, let's do it, let's place this. I believe they're 0-3 this season. But normally on the show, like during college basketball, when all 3 of us agreed, it had a very good hit rate. So I like the Pistons. Let's move on.
He's saying it's Chris's fault. It's okay.
Yeah, I mean, when Chris wasn't here, when Chris isn't here, I'm happy to blame it on him.
But you know what? That was perfect though, because neither one of us said we were gonna make the bet. So,
but
Kyle,
I am.
Your way,
I am gonna make it.
See, why not? Just don't announce it.
Yeah, why not just do it privately? All right, what's next? Minnesota. Good God. Let's see. We got DiVincenzo questionable, Conley questionable. Quickly's out for Toronto. No other new injuries here. All right. I mean, obviously, I'd like to go plus 7.5 because I don't think Minnesota's any good, but I didn't look at it. That's just quick glance. What do you guys think?
Well, it's no secret. I've thought that way about Minnesota since the beginning of the season, and it hasn't changed. In this situation, both teams are rested. I want to try to make a case for the Raptors. I mean, at the very minimum, it feels like the Raptors always play hard. They've also been a better rebounding team lately. You look at season-long stats, I mean, why should you be laying with Minnesota? 5-9 ATS. Their defensive rating is in the bottom half of the league right now, last 5 games. And on the flip side, Raptors have covered 10 out of 15 games. So I think the Raptors that are a solid look, catching a few positions. Other than that, I was trying to get there with the over. I don't really trust either defense. And just looking at how they've been playing lately, stats-wise or numbers-wise, Raptors 6-1 to the over as a home dog or at home in general, and the Timberwolves 5-2 to the over on the road. So either over 225.5 or plus 7.5 would be the ones I would choose for this game.
Yeah, I did not agree when you made that take initially, but I've become a believer on this Minnesota isn't good narrative. I said it when they played the Portland the second time. That was like, guys, they might not be good. But to credit to you, you did say that before the season, which I thought was a crazy take at the time. I still think come All-Star break, come down the stretch, I still think they're going to be a strong team. But I think Kyle Anderson is a bigger loss than it's getting credit for. I like Kyle Anderson a lot off the bench, and I think not having him is going to hurt. Chris, Raptors?
Yeah, I hate when we all three agree because we make so much sense and the game goes the opposite way. But I mean, you know, Ski mentioned the big rebounding differential in this game, and I think that was the number one thing for me. Last 5 games, Toronto's actually the number one offensive rated rebounding team in the NBA, and Toronto and Minnesota on the opposite side giving up the 6th most rebounds. So. Home dog. Also, I think the other thing is outside of what Ski already mentioned is you got the big look ahead spot for Boston. They actually, for Minnesota. They got Boston on Sunday. So, I mean, they've already beaten the Timberwolves earlier this season as well. So yeah, I think it kind of correlates. And to Ski's point about the over, that's why I kind of wanted to play as well. The Raptors 5-9 against the number as a favorite, but 9-5 to the over as well this season. So their defense just hasn't been as good. They're turning the ball over a lot. Like they barely won against the Suns the other day. It took a travel from Julius Randle to hit a step back 3-pointer. They barely beat the Kings without Sabonis and without DeRozan the other day. No way I'm laying points with them here. I'm actually probably going to place this one as long as you don't say you're going to, Kyle.
No, you're safe here. I'm not
Good,
betting this.
okay.
I might be down to bet Detroit. And I'm looking at this next game too. This is another straight bet. Are you kidding me? Utah, San Antonio 3-point line. No Wemby, no Sohan. Vassell's out as well. Like what the? I mean, well, you guys have anything? I don't.
Go ahead, Ski.
Well, my bet I made in this game, I went back to what I should have never left from was Chris Paul assist. Over 8.5. I think he's hit this 10 out of 15 games, and he didn't hit it the first game without Wemby, but that second game, he got it back together. They just sharing the ball, finding the shooters, and I think versus this Utah defense, there's going to be a lot of opportunities for potential assists. So Chris Paul over 8.5 assists is my best bet for this game.
Chris,
way to find something out of nothing, Ski, because I'm with you, Kyle. Like I really want, like, this is a revenge spot. Utah beat San Antonio 111 to 110 on the 9th. So I kind of want to take, the revenge angle into account, but how can you without Sohan and Devin Vassell and Wemby? I don't think Utah really wants to win either. But this is the last game before game road trip. Probably want to win one of them. I think when they get back home, they got a pretty tough schedule coming up. So they probably won't win at home either. But I didn't touch the game. I can't get there with laying points with San Antonio or even taking a small number like 3 with the Utah Jazz, because then you almost expecting them to win, and I don't expect the Jazz to win 3-11 straight up. I'm good to stay on the sideline here.
What's with the? I see 2 comments in here, 3 different people in the comments giving out Filipowski bets, PRAs, double. What's with? Is there? Where did that come from? Everyone's loving Filipowski.
I mean, to be fair, who's playing center behind Wemby? I mean, it's probably a free for all.
Zach Collins, probably. Yeah, his numbers
it's all you can eat buffet.
Yeah, his numbers been pretty good. Somebody mentioned this on my show earlier today too. He's actually had double digits in 3 of his last 5 games. He did have a 3-point game against the Lakers the other day, but he had 13 against the Clippers, 9 against Sacramento, 14 against Dallas, and 18 against Phoenix. So he has been double. I think is a little bit of a stretch. He hasn't had double-digit rebounds, but I guess they probably getting really good odds. So it might be worth, juice might be worth a squeeze, a smaller investment here.
All right.
All I'll say is I don't do too much watching of Utah Jazz games. I did watch him in college, and I wasn't a big fan, but it looks like he's doing better now. So maybe I need to look at I can't even say his name.
Filipowski. Orlando, LA, short line here. A little disrespectful to the Lakers in LA, gotta say. Orlando might be a tough matchup for him. Are you guys laying the points with your guys here?
I think that they can win by 5.
You guys both made the same face. You were like,
I really just don't want to do it, though. I really don't want to do it. I want to bring up this stat and see what everybody thinks, because it's something I followed for a few years, but this goes all the way back to 2016. Just looking at the teams when they play in LA and staying in LA, like play the Clippers and then play the Lakers, or play the Lakers and then play the Clippers. Like, we all know you can go out and have a good time and maybe party a little bit. There are some young guys over there for Orlando. I can't help but think, though, the trend says 37, 12, and 2 to the over, 75.5%. As good as Orlando's defense has been, it definitely makes me hesitate. The Lakers, though, don't really play any defense. So I'm curious if you guys think Orlando's defense suffers on the second of a back-to-back, because I'm trying my best to get there with the over. Like, it opened 219, it's down to 215.5. At what point do we push back?
Well, I mean, what you said makes sense. I mean, they were in Phoenix, flew to LA, played the Clippers last night. A young group overnight in LA, you would imagine they went out. I mean, there's some truth to that. Chris?
Yeah, I remember that one too, Ski. I would play over or nothing. I think the Lakers, if you're JJ Redick, aren't you telling your guys just run up and down the floor as fast as they possibly can? The Lakers love to get out and run in transition with LeBron James, D'Angelo Russell. You probably don't want to play this. You probably don't want to, have to face Orlando defense in the half court. They're the 5th best defense in the half court, only allowing about 93.6 points per 100 possessions. Last 5 games, they're 3rd, and they're only allowing 85.5 points per half court play per 100 possessions. So, that makes a ton of sense, Ski. I don't want to lay the 5 with the Lakers either. I did see that KCP was ruled out. I think Orlando just plays with a little bit more pace. Coming off that slow pace game, they only scored 93 points last night. It's the last game of the road trip as well before they can go back home and get back to the East Coast. I think it's over or nothing here. I kind of want to lay with the Lakers too, but I won't.
I don't understand.
I just want to make it.
Oh, go ahead.
I just want to make it clear before I get killed in my mentions and comments that I am not betting the Lakers today.
He wants to make that clear. He's not betting the Lakers today.
I'm betting the over.
Oh, okay. You like the over too?
I'm betting the over.
Yeah.
So I made up my mind while I was talking.
Oh, okay. a last minute switch. Well, I would lean towards the Lakers. I gotta say, doesn't the line seem a little suspiciously low? Orlando on a back-to-back, the Lakers at home where they're better. I mean, if you asked me to handicap this game, I probably would have had it at 6.5, 7. 4.5 seems suspiciously low. I mean, we're polling at 70% Lakers. I would imagine most of the quote-unquote public action is on the Lakers.
It opened at 4.5 yesterday, Cal, before the Orlando game finished last night with the Clippers, and it got bet up to 5.5 this morning. When I did my show this morning, it was up to 5.5. So some people are coming back in, thinking Orlando. They were on a 6-game winning streak up until I put my hard-earned money on them last night, of course, and they can't get to 100 points without Norman Powell there. So Yeah, probably bounce back spot in this opinion, but I'm not betting them because I feel like I'm gonna lose either way.
All right, it's time for where can they find your stuff if they don't already know, Ski?
All of my work, you can find it at Ski Profit, whether it's Twitter, YouTube, anything you want to find me on, just type that in and it'll pop up. I do a show at 10:30 a.m. Pacific Standard Time if you want to see it on YouTube. And yeah, I'd love for you guys to come check it out. Appreciate you, Kyle.
Yep. Yeah, his just 2.5 hours before this one. And Chris is in the morning, right, Chris?
Yeah, in the morning, about 7:45, 7:30ish, whenever I, roll out.
Approximately,
just pop in. You see the time. And all my work can be found over on X or Twitter and YouTube as well. Appreciate you, Kyle, as always.
Any you guys have any action on this NFL game before you bounce?
I like the under. I think with the weather, I know it's pretty cliche, but with the weather,
that makes sense.
I think Pittsburgh plays a lot really good defense in this spot. Maybe some running back props over for Najee Harris. I think he runs the ball 20 times tonight, just because of the weather, and they probably play super. This is already a super conservative team with Mike Tomlin, so I think maybe his running back prop, his carries over rushing yards, I think it was 66.5. What you think, Al?
I got the Browns plus 4.5. It's 3.5 now. I'm on Cleveland. With all the weather, who the hell knows on this short week? I don't know. I'm getting 4.5. I think it's a good number. But, the weather really, we're about to talk about. Ski, any action on this? We're about to bring the graphics up. Do you have any action in the NFL game?
Yeah, I think I agree with Chris as far as Najee should have a lot of carries. I think his prop was either 16.5 or 17.5. I like that look. And with the weather, like you said, it probably sets up good for the Browns to run the ball and have success doing that. I also thought about Winston under, I think it was 212.5 passing yards last time I looked. I know that the Steelers defense, they held both Lamar and Daniels under 212.5. And if they can do that, I think they can hold Winston under in a bad weather game too. So those are my thoughts, not bets, and good luck to everybody.
Cool. All right, let's switch it over. We'll bring on, I got to send Brad the link here. I did say send Brad the link. Oh, Brad's in here.
All right.
Oh, there he is.
All right, Kyle, I'm out. Have
Later,
a good
Chris.
night, man. Best of luck.
All right, so we got Prop Beaver and Brad joining us for the NFL game. And while Prop Beaver setting the screen up, I'll just go right into what I started. So the weather makes this one really interesting because if you watch the video I posted last night, you already know this, but the matchup in terms of the quarterbacks versus opposing coverages are favorable to both quarterbacks. If the weather was fine here, I would be thinking both quarterbacks are going to be making some big plays, making some big throws. Both teams run single high safety looks. Both quarterbacks, very good numbers against single high safety looks. Jameis Winston actually leads the NFL in pass rating against single high safety looks, which is crazy. Small sample size. But it's favorable matchups for both quarterbacks. But you throw this weather in here, and then add on the fact that you have to take into account for these two pass rushes as well, two of the best in the NFL. It's hard to have any faith in quarterbacks making big throws in this weather with these pass rushes. So it just dramatically alters the game. Not that it turns it into run game versus run game, but at least to some respect it does. And I still think I'm on the right side in that respect. Cleveland's run game is extremely inefficient. They run for a lot of yards because they hand it off a million times. The last 4 games or whatever, I think it is, it's 3.7 yards per carry, 33% success rate per rush. Very inefficient. Same thing can be sent to Cleveland. They're having trouble getting Nick Chubb going. So both teams struggling to run the ball. I wouldn't be mad at an under for those of you that are on an under in this weather. Across the board, I still think I'm comfortable on my Cleveland plus 4.5 position. What scares me a little bit in this weather, we're bound to see mistakes, and I'd be crazy to not admit that Jameis Winston is far more likely to make those mistakes than Russell Wilson is. So I'm definitely worried in that respect. I think if there's no crazy mistakes, like crazy plays, fumble return touchdowns, no craziness happens, which is rare. It's the NFL. Craziness is going to happen. But I think if no quote-unquote craziness happens and we got teams handing the ball off, punting, who can move the ball, line of scrimmage versus line of scrimmage, offensive line versus defensive front, I think Cleveland plus 4.5 is a good bet in that respect. Jameis mistakes could get me, though. So I'm on Cleveland plus 4.5. I like the bet. I do. But admittedly, with the weather, it's a lot of unpredictability with this shit. I'm excited. I think this is going to be a fun one to watch, honestly. I think with the weather, I think it's going to be fun. But as far as like, am I super comfortable with my wager going into the game? Nah, but I think it's going to be fun, and I got a good number. So, Brad, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, going to be a fun game. I think, this is one of those where the guy who was on before us, he said something that I wanted to kind of expand on. He was like, he thinks it's going to be under because of the weather, and I think he was kind of like downplaying it, right? But like, that's the kind of angles that you want, right? In football, you want to have those angles where you're like, we're going to have a good weather advantage, so we're going to have to, take advantage of it and not be afraid if it loses. Like, that's what you want. Like, so I think the under is a really good shout. I do get worried about, like, when you have bad weather and low scores, the more points you're giving the opposition, the more likely they are to cover. It's just second nature. I think that, your number at 4.5 is really nice. Like, it's going to be pretty darn tough to win by 5+ when each team's probably only going to score like 20 points maximum. From a, numbers perspective, I do like what Steelers defense is doing. Run defense is pretty good. Better run defense than the Cleveland Browns. Wow, I don't even have a bet for this game. I do have a couple of thoughts. They're going to take chances, right? They're going to throw the ball. It's not 50-mile-per-hour winds, but it's not going to be a ton. What I will say is that you want to find value in like some of the underneath guys, like Freiermuth, maybe Njoku. But I thought the number on George Pickens was still pretty compelling, even despite the weather. His over 4.5 receptions is plus 125. He's still going to get 5 and 6 targets in this game, and they're going to take at least one shot, right? He just has to come down with 85% of his targets. And, he's gone over with success with Russell Wilson. Like, that's his blanket. So that's my favorite bet for the game. And listen, when you are in this weather with uncertainty, go ahead and take something that gives you a little plus money, because it's not a coin flip, right? You're not paying vig on it. So you run this bet 100 times in this weather, you'll probably be profitable.
Yeah, and if it wasn't for the weather, like I said before, this is a very favorable matchup for Russell Wilson in terms of the Browns running man coverage, in terms of the Browns running single high safety. I mean, he has great numbers against it, but the detriment here for Russell Wilson is his passer rating and his pressure to sack rate. His numbers when pressured fall off a cliff. I believe I just had it open. He has the fifth best passer rating in the NFL when given a clean pocket. When pressured, it dropped to, I believe it's 39th in the NFL. His passer rating drops to a 50 when he's under pressure. He also takes a lot of sacks. So there's so many moving parts here because Russell Wilson struggles under pressure, but he has great numbers against single high safeties, against man coverage, which Cleveland runs. But then there's the weather too. There's just so many moving parts here. Prop Beaver, someone requested Dueling Dragons on yesterday's stream.
No dragons. No bets here either. I mean, this game's absolutely disgusting. I see zero value. Just simply put, I don't see any value. I don't see any value in the spread. I don't see values in the props, to be quite frank with you. So I'm just not going to have a bet in this game. I don't really think there's any point in forcing anything. We had a great weekend. I gave out a bet on Monday's game. It was the over. I don't even think that should have really been a winning bet. Kyle had the under in that game. I think pretty much everything went wrong for him to lose that bet. And yeah, I'm not going to just give out another bet on here just to give you guys a bet and appease you. So yeah, I just simply don't have a bet. What was the phrase that Kyle said earlier? I guess folding a losing hand is a winning hand. A wise man once said that. I would lean Cleveland, but I really think that's a losing hand. So just going to fold.
And so I think people are making jokes that we're talking about the weather too much. So tonight, it's looking like 80% precipitation, snow, 15 to 20 mile an hour winds. That's what we're talking about. So
with wind gusts in the 30s, like that's when you really want to take quarterback unders. When your wind gusts are past 25 miles per hour, that's when quarterback unders are play.
All right, let's talk college football. So we're going to switch. We have 4 people on for college football today, and it's a cool game. I have a bet on it. I sprinkled the money line too. I'm interested to see what Brad thinks, because I think Andy agrees with me. I know Andy agrees with me here. So while Prop Beaver's setting the screen up, what we're talking about is NC State on the road at Georgia Tech. And You might have watched the video I uploaded last night. I think NC State should have no problems throwing the ball and scoring points on Georgia Tech's defense. We've seen this Georgia Tech defense, although it's exceeded expectations, it has shown us that it's not a terrible defense. All 3 times they've seen passing offenses, they've gotten cooked on. And CJ Bailey has made me a believer. I mean, he had a bad game against Duke his last time out, but his 4 games before that, they were averaging over 305 passing yards per game. Nice looking passer rating, success rate high, yards per attempt high, big throws. I mean, this kid, CJ Bailey, has made me a believer. And the game reminds me a little bit of the Cal game. I want to say it was about a month ago. NC State Cal. I took NC State plus 10 that week. And I was watching the game. I was like, why didn't I take the money line? Why didn't I take the money line? I mean, CJ Bailey had a great game throwing the ball against a good Cal defense. Ended up driving down the field and scoring a touchdown in the 4th quarter to take the lead. Ended up being the game-winning touchdown. CJ Bailey has made me a believer, and I think he's going to throw the ball on Georgia Tech here. I don't really I'm on NC State, by the way, Prop Beaver. I don't really understand the line, so I kind of feel like a square here. Because you know what? Coincidentally, I was just talking about this. I made this comment on Twitter. If you don't see a logical explanation for someone to be on the other side, that means you're missing a part of the market, right? And I don't get why it's at 9, which means I might be missing something here. In my opinion, this should be 6.5, 7. So maybe I'm way off. When I placed this bet early in the week, I was expecting it to close at close to 7. I thought I was getting great value. It's still sitting at 9, which means there's some people on the other side putting some money in there, keeping this market balanced. I like NC State. Maybe I'm way off here. I think they're able to score points. By the way, there's question marks in terms of the Georgia Tech quarterback situation. I think Haynes King is going to play. He played against Miami, but he only dropped back to pass 6 times, 6 pass attempts in the game. How healthy is his throwing arm? There's also the freshman quarterback who looked pretty good. They can't use him unless they want to burn his red shirt. So will you see him in this game? Will you see Zach Pyron at quarterback, which the 2 games he started, Georgia Tech's offense looked unbackable. It looked terrible in the games he started. So can they use Pyron? There's so many moving parts as far as the Georgia Tech offense. I like NC State to score points. So I took the points. I even sprinkled the money line.
It sounded like you were you might have watched the college football show as much as you were talking about actually my favorite bet in this game. You just kept saying music to my ears, music to my ears, music to my ears. I took CJ Bailey passing yards, but I took him at 275 plus at plus 320. I think the line here is boom or bust, right? Like he's either going to throw for 200 or he's going to throw for 300, which means I want to take as much value and as much stock as possible in that. First and foremost, you said it. You can throw on Georgia Tech. This is a Georgia Tech team who their defensive prowess, or as much defensive prowess as they have, all comes from the beasts on the defensive line. That's it. And it's not so much pass rush. It's guys who just kind of plug the middle. Those guys in the middle of the defensive line who don't allow you to run on them. That's fine though, right? Like North Carolina State doesn't want to run the ball. Like, sure, they do, right? They probably do, but they don't have success doing it. So they're running the ball. They're throwing the ball at a really high clip, about 1% more than the league median, which is like really freaking high, like an entire percentage point. They don't have success running the ball. They throw the ball a ton. I want to talk about like perspective of CJ Bailey, like against some of the bad pass rushes that, bad pass defense that he's played against, or like subpar. He's gone over the 300 or at least 270, right? Like they played against Wake Forest. He threw the ball 42 times. He probably could have gone to 300 if there weren't some drop balls. He threw for 272. When he played against Syracuse, we know their pass defense carved them up for 329, 300 against Cal. And then on the other side of the ball, like just to give you a couple of 2 examples, we have a Georgia Tech team who allowed Carson Beck throw for 300. I believe what they played Miami 2 weeks ago. He threw for Cam Ward threw for 340. Like teams have thrown on Georgia Tech.
Tyler Shuck and Louisville threw on him.
Tyler Shuck threw for 272, I think.
But he had like 14 yards per attempt, like crazy efficient.
Yeah. And that was a game too where Georgia Tech tried to slow the game down, so he had less opportunity than he would have in a normal game. And still, his player prop in that was like 245, and he smashed it. So I'm taking the alt line in this. I don't really lean aside. I do think Georgia Tech ultimately wins this game if Haynes King is healthy. I actually hope he's healthy so they have their full complement of the offense and not do this. Let's lull you to sleep and just run the ball and burn 8 minutes at a time of possession.
So, all right. So I'm glad we're seeing it similarly because I was thinking the same thing. I don't see how they're able to stop CJ Bailey. He's made me a believer. I like them to throw often and have success doing so. Don't you think this line seems a little high? Like, if you were to set the line for this, where would you put it? Because personally, I think 9 is crazy. I think it should be 6.5, 7, but maybe I'm off.
Yeah, I'm closer to the 7.5 variety.
Okay.
Let me just look at my numbers one more time.
I mean, Georgia Tech's going to run the ball in this game. NC State's run defense, they're missing that linebacker that's on the Steelers now. They've had the same linebacker there in NC State for 4 years. He's led the team in tackles, and he's on the Steelers now. Peyton Wilson, I think, right?
Yep.
He is. They're missing him. But still, that seems crazy, this number. Not to mention, by the way, CJ Bailey's only made 2 road starts in his career. Clemson and Cal, both very nice games, although a lot of the Clemson damage was in garbage time. But still. What about Fillmore?
I'm with you. I think we looked at this Monday, we both said this line was ridiculous, and I still maintain that. I think NC State can win the game outright. I've become a believer in Bailey as well. Georgia Tech doesn't have a pass rush, and if he can just step back and chuck it, then I think that he's gonna be able to do whatever he wants here. That's really the basis to me. Also, we don't usually bring them up, but we know that this is a thing. Sandwich spots are a thing. They played Miami. They did have a bye. Now they're playing NC State. They have Georgia on deck. This is the ultimate sandwich spot for Georgia Tech. I don't know how they care about this game after beating Miami and knowing that they can ruin Georgia's season on deck. So I don't think that this game, not saying they're not going to show up, but I think that there's a little bit of a look towards next week because that is a huge game for them. They're going to Athens. They can ruin their arch rival season. I think that plays a little bit into it too. So I don't think they're going to be looking to win this game comfortably like this. I don't know that they're going to be able to do that. So yeah, I've thought this since Monday was an NC State spot, and it never moved like you said. So yeah, I would honestly take the money line. I think NC State.
I did. I sprinkled the money line. Scoop, are you with the Wolfpack?
Yeah, first, before you talk about this, Jameis Winston under passing yards is free as air, as the kids would say. Under 217.5 is easily cashing. I've been a hater on NC State from the jump, but I have to admit, since CJ Bailey came on as a starter, he's been getting better every game, except that Duke game, which I'm not sure if that's a one-off.
Duke's got a good defense, though.
I'm not a glazing CJ Bailey like you guys, but Georgia Tech defense is not Duke, though. They're going to give up some points and yards. I personally don't think Georgia Tech are close to this number. I think this is way too high. CJ Bailey should have opportunities here. I know Haynes King is pretty much the whole offense here for Georgia Tech. Georgia Tech did win that game against Miami without him since he gotten hurt, but I think that's the thing here. Haynes King has been hurt 3 times this year. You kind of have to question his health and how well he plays with the injuries. And CJ Bailey, though he did do bad against Duke, it wasn't that they didn't get into Duke's side of the field. They were a lot. They just couldn't put in the end zone with some points. And even though they're turnover prone, Georgia Tech is in bottom 10 for takeaways. They've only had 7 all year. I know Haynes King is awesome, but NC State does rank 20th in tackles for loss. Their defensive line is better than Georgia Tech's offensive line. They have a nice run defense, and they're solid in the red zone and on third down percentages. So this is going to be closer than people think in terms of talent and matchups. So I really like NC State here too.
Cool. And we're an NC State program today. All right, so we're going to switch over to college basketball, which means me and Brad are out of here. Brad, I'll see you Saturday morning. You're coming on, right?
Yes, sir.
All right, cool. So Brad will be back Saturday morning for the big college football show, 10 a.m. We'll be back for the midnight college basketball stream is the next time you'll see me. Throw toast on. Let's do some college basketball. Talk to you guys later.
Famous last words. Throw toast. Huh? You're quiet as hell. And me.
All right, we're doing the transitioning phase. 1 second, folks.
The transitioning phase, you said?
Yeah. Every person goes through transitioning phase. 1 second. I'm gonna get you off the screen. Honestly, you didn't really do that in the smoothest fucking way, dude. A much smoother way, honestly, quite frankly. Next time, you fucking dickwad.
Great way to put it. A smoother way.
I mean, Good afternoon, everybody. Glad to see you all again. Scoop, glad to see you've joined the show. Love to see it. I'm just saying we haven't got to talk college basketball.
There we go.
You're always on for,
Just through our text messages.
yeah, you guys love watching JV football, but you won't watch JV basketball with me. But anywho, well, we start with a good one when Baylor St. John's. We know that. Scoop, why don't you kick us off? What are your thoughts in this game? Because me and Andy have already given our thoughts, and we completely disagree. So,
yeah, I think Andy's completely wrong. I didn't even watch the show, and I know he's wrong. I'm gonna go Baylor here, even though I really do like the Johnnies as a whole. Baylor has obviously came back from that Gonzaga beatdown. They beat Arkansas on a neutral floor, and then did what they were supposed to do really against Sam Houston and Tarleton. St. John's defensively, giving up 71 plus 2 out of the last 3 games against New Mexico and Quinnipiac. Their defense isn't going to hold up against Baylor. I'm sorry. If you go back to that Zags game, they shot 3 from 21 from 3. That's going to be an outlier. Their shot quality actually has gone way up. Actually, in that shot quality in that Zags game, they should have had 80 instead of 63. But still, after that game, they're top 10 in adjusted shot quality and 3-point efficiency. They're first in pick and roll efficiency. And Baylor's been tested already. Like I said, Arkansas and the Zags. St. John's hasn't played anyone of quality yet. So I feel like they're kind of running into a buzzsaw here. Andy's favorite word, he likes to say. I think Edgecombe is just going to get better as the season goes on. I personally think this game gets out of hand quickly. Baylor's defense should do well here with their zone. Their offensive rebounds are going to be a factor. St. John's isn't a huge rebounding team in the first place. They're 166 in defensive rebounding rate. And their offense is just better. So I love Baylor here. I think they actually smash St. John's.
Yeah, I completely agree. I don't know if it's going to be a dog walk, as Andy might put it, but as you did. But I do think that this is a big step up in class for that St. John's defense that have played teams like the Zags and Arkansas and Sam Houston State and whatnot. Again, I think that going to that point, though, I just think that Baylor defense is being slept on. I know that they haven't been great over the last couple of years, but again, I do trust Scott Drew. But Andy, why do you like St. John's?
I made it pretty clear. I said I think the size advantage is going to be very significant. Not only the size advantage, the pace is also there for St. John's. St. John's runs similar pace to Gonzaga. I know the way that Toast feels about it is because it's Gonzaga. They're a special team, and I get it. Gonzaga's
Can I just say one thing to that? It's not necessarily Gonzaga. It's Nembhard running the point with 11 assists. I think that's huge. But go ahead.
Yeah, but we saw Baylor struggle with the pace that Gonzaga runs. I think that that's going to happen again. There is no faster pace than a Rick Pitino offense or defense too. His defense is usually pretty stout too. So I don't necessarily think the 3-point shot's going to be there. Look, if you shot 3 for 21 against Gonzaga, and I know it wasn't technically a true road game, but it was really at the same time. It's not going to be any easier in the Bahamas to shoot against the Rick Pitino defense. It's not going to be any easier than it was to shoot against Gonzaga. It's going to be just as hard. So I don't expect them to be able to shoot. I think Gonzaga, I think St. John's can really take advantage of the size advantage and the fact that Baylor has really struggled to defend the paint this year, and that's where St. John's is going to eat. They weren't against New Mexico on Sunday. They weren't trying to run their offense through their guards. Kadari Richmond, everybody's making a big deal. He was like the highest rated transfer of all time, and he went to St. John's. Well, they were running more through their big men. So if they're going to do that, I think that they can have a lot of success against Baylor. So I do think that I'm completely opposed to these guys. I think they're wrong, but I had to bet the 2.5 because I was thinking it was going to continue going up. It never moved again, so I just bet the 2.5. But yeah, I think St. John's has a shot to win this as well.
I do agree. Like I understand the sentiment considering how bad Baylor struggled inside against Gonzaga. Like that totally makes sense. And especially if you look, like, wait till you guys see what this place looks like. It's literally a ballroom. I mean, it looks like they could touch the ceilings. I shared some of it, a video in the Discord last night, but it's really bad. But again, I just think that Baylor's played a stronger schedule. I like the fact that they played a stronger schedule. They're really experienced, and this is going to be a really big step up in class for that St. John's defense. So we'll see what happens if, like I said, like we've talked about yesterday, it's probably most likely the game of the night. So yeah. Anywho, Beaver, next game.
Cuse, Longhorns.
Ooh, a good one. Scoop, kick us off.
I mean, yeah, Texas's only loss so far this season was their opening game against Ohio State. They weren't at full strength that game. Other than that, beat up on the little sisters of the poor type of teams. Syracuse just does not look good. That's why the spread is so high. They haven't covered any spread. They're letting teams like Lemoyne and Colgate score 70 plus. Youngstown almost put up 100, went to overtime. I mean, Youngstown is a fun team. They just shouldn't be putting up 90 something against Syracuse. But Listen, I don't think Syracuse just doesn't have anything that stops Trey Johnson, in my opinion. I don't have much in this game except that I mean, they played these three teams, could have legitimately been 0-3. Texas is a far better team. I think Shedrick will kill Lampkin down low for Texas personally, and I just don't see Syracuse keeping up here at all. So,
Andy?
Yeah, I mean, I think Toast and I felt pretty similarly. I think that in a perfect world, Texas should blow them out, blow the doors off of them. Syracuse has looked bad so far this year. But again, this game's being played in New York. It's in Brooklyn. It is basically a home game for them. So that does come into play, these neutral site games. But when the team is from the home state, usually they have a better following. Obviously, Syracuse is going to have a really good following there tonight. But Texas has played up here before, so it's not exactly a new game. Rodney Terry has brought his team to New York before, so that the only thing that could get me is if Syracuse has a better following and that they can just feed off the energy and shoot well from three. But in a perfect world, Texas should blow them out. Texas is significantly better.
Yeah, I think that the guards for Texas are just extremely better. I think that Syracuse is probably going to turn the ball over a lot. I don't think that Eddie Lampkin is going to be able to do anything that he did early on in this season. I mean, the 20-point game against Syracuse, the 20-point game against Youngstown State. I mean, you got that to double overtime. I just don't really put too much stock in that. I mean, he went 4 for 10 from the field. I mean, Eddie Lampkin kind of sucks at this point. I don't even know why he's still playing. So, I mean, I'm just being honest here. So, again, I think that Texas. I mean, unless like Andy said, Syracuse gets absolutely hot, and I will say I'm sure they're due for a little bit of positive regression. I mean, they're shooting 25% on the year from deep. I don't know if that gets better where they're playing tonight, but at the Barclays Center. But at the same time, I think Texas should win by 15 plus. But, and there's a big but behind it, I will definitely not be laying that number with a Rodney Terry coach team on the road on a neutral. So not going to happen. Never in a million years. It's Texas or pass, though. There's no chance in hell I bet Syracuse. Beaver, next game.
Yeah, I didn't like betting that game either.
Yeah. I think, I have a hard time believing. Here's a game that's, I mean, I wake up in the morning and I look at the lines, especially at games that I've bet, and threw me for a loop. That's for sure. I don't know what's going on. So Andy and I really like Nevada. Scoop, are you on Vandy at all? Are we crazy?
No, I'm with you guys. I think in this game, Vandy's just such a small team. Every position Nevada has like 3 inches over any position Vandy has. Plus, all of Vanderbilt's new. I mean, all 9 of their top scorers are new, and they haven't faced anyone near Nevada's level. Nevada's 4-0 against the spread. Plus, I don't know if anyone's actually watched Vanderbilt's games. Jacksonville State and Southeastern Missouri were both close games in that game. Unlike Jackson State, who out-rebounded Vandy by 11, Nevada is going to out-rebound them and actually put the ball in the basket. So I'm not saying Nevada is an amazing offense by any means, but Vandy definitely isn't there defensively. So, I mean, they're 211th in scoring defense against poor teams, 140th defensive rating. And although Vandy has a decent offense, Nevada's been great defensively, allowing 61 points a game, 45th in defensive rating. I feel like Davidson and Sanders can both get 20-plus points here easily. And the biggest thing, I think, Vandy is 342nd in three-point defense right now. They can't defend the outside. Opponents are shooting almost 40% from 3. Nevada's the second in the nation right now, shooting 48% from 3. This just seems like it would be a rough night for Vandy. Nevada's better on both sides of the ball, has a size advantage, not to mention they played a more difficult schedule in blowing these teams out. So it wouldn't be anything except Nevada unless Diego Pavia suits up on the other side. But I think, I'm definitely going Nevada here. I bet this game. I don't understand the line. I think Nevada rolls.
Yeah, I really can't. I can't agree more. As far as Vanderbilt goes, obviously they're 4-0 against nobody's teams. They've played our 353rd strongest schedule in the country right now, and you're going to be facing a Nevada team that is the biggest and the most experienced, or one of the biggest and one of the most experienced teams in the country. So I guess the only thing that's making me not like just absolutely love this play is the line movement. So I guess I was debating on playing 4.5 last night, thinking it would go to 5.5. Now that that's at 2.5, I do have them in the money line parlay that we talked about, but I just don't understand this line at all. So I don't understand why it's moving unless you're trying to make a case that Vanderbilt is deeper and they're going to be able to run through some guys. It just doesn't really make sense to me. Like, Nevada would have to be ice cold absolutely all night for them to even have this game to be close, in my opinion.
Michael, it's a neutral site. It's South Carolina.
This is at Charleston, where both games, the Drake game has been, and the game I'm about to get completely screwed over on, the Oklahoma State Florida Atlantic game. I know it's gonna happen, but yeah, that's it. So far, the neutral site thing has kind of kicked into effect for the better teams, right? Miami struggled to shoot earlier in their game. FAU and Oklahoma State both had some lulls in this game so far. That kind of plays more for Vanderbilt. To be honest, the thing that I keep getting hung up on is both teams are going to struggle to shoot. Then the team that out rebounds is going to win the game. Well, Nevada's third in height. There's two teams in college basketball taller than them, Duke and Florida State. That's it. There's everybody else is shorter than them. Vanderbilt's 308th. So if you're getting, they're going to get significantly out rebounded here, and I expect both teams to be missing shots. I think an under would be decent play too, because like these neutral site unders have become a thing. Like they've been a thing, but it's very clear in these games that that's a huge difference. So, yeah, I have Nevada in that parlay that we have, and Lord, I don't think that they're going to lose, but I don't understand the line movement either. What Ken Palm had this at 6? We said yesterday.
Correct.
Ken Palm has it at 6. It's 2.5. So that's a significant jump for Ken Palm.
Yeah, honestly, the only reason that I don't, unless both teams are just going through lulls all night long, neither one of them are really good free throw shooting teams either yet. So, an under would make sense, but again, I just don't. Like I said, the line movement's the only thing that's keeping me I would have probably had a full unit if this line started at Nevada minus 2.5. I would have put a full unit on Nevada. I wouldn't even have thought about it. So, yeah, that's just a weird one for sure. So I'll be very curious to watch that one. Next game on the board.
Bryce Thompson just fouled out, Andy.
Yeah, dude, real quick. I don't want to get us too off track. There has been a foul called in 4 games.
Oh, it's such a bad game.
I don't even want to talk. I cannot talk about the Oklahoma State FAU foul situation right now. I can't do it.
It's such a bad game.
I'm not.
We can be ruined by these.
There's been 50 fouls in this game. I'm not even kidding.
I told myself I wasn't going to get to that level like in baseball season, so I'm just going to let it go. We're up 2.
Let it go.
I don't know. Virginia, Tennessee. I might want to throw up, but at 12.5, I kind of want to take Virginia. Andy, am I crazy?
Yeah, we talked about it last night, dude. If there was a game that I think that might go a little bit differently than everybody else is thinking, it's Virginia. Virginia has this weird way of just messing with teams, and Tennessee's a team that can be messed with very easily. They have such an offense that Rick Barnes runs, and a lot of it leans on Zakai Ziegler and making sure that they don't turn the ball over and that they can get their shots up. And their pace has become faster. They used to be a much slower paced team, but they've quickened it because that's how Zakai Ziegler likes it, and that's how he can run the offense. Virginia is so tough to run an offense on, man. Their defense, and I know Tony Bennett's gone, but it's his guys, and it's his assistant coach. They're running the exact same system they would have ran if he was there. Their defense is so stout that I don't think that Tennessee will be able to run what they want to run. So do I think that Virginia's going to win? Hell no, because Virginia, they're shooting the lights out. That's not going to happen against Tennessee either. But I think it's going to be much closer than 12.5. This screams 1 to 2 possessions to me the whole game, because they are not going to be – neither team is going to be able to shoot on the other, in my opinion. Neither team can really shoot anyway, but neither one of them is going to be shoot on the other defense. So the under – I know we looked at it last night. I know a lot of people are looking at this and they're seeing 25.5. That's awfully low. No, that's high for this game. These two offenses suck. These two defenses are really good. So my expectation would be Tennessee wins it, but it'll be a close one.
Scoop, I have a question for you. Andy said Zakai Ziegler is one of the most overrated college basketball players of all time. Do you agree or disagree?
I disagree. Yeah, it's a ridiculous take. I don't know how you could put money on Virginia here. I don't care how much the line is, even if their coach quit on the team. Don't forget, there's no home team for this one too. No matter what Virginia's defense looks like, their offense is going to be bad. I think Double Z just kills them here. I don't care what you think about Ziegler. Even with some of the talent that left Tennessee, they still have a ton of capable double-digit scorers. They're not as bad as an offensive team as you think they are. More importantly, they can still play crazy defense. Like I said with Ziegler, he could take care of the ball more. He's going to be one of the better guards. And defensively, he's still one of the best in the nation at defense. So I think he'll be able to lock down Ames here, even though he has a size advantage on him. So I'm sure North Florida can use Lanier right now. He's been shooting well so far. Love Milicic down low. He actually started with Virginia, I think, if I remember correctly, a couple years ago. Obviously, both of these teams haven't played much of a tough schedule. Virginia's hardest game was Villanova. I mean, they're terrible. Tennessee did play Louisville, but I guess the verdict's still going to be out on them. With that team with Kelsey, I don't know. Maybe they'll click. I have no idea. Really, I think the experience factor is going to be here for Tennessee. A lot of these kids are the same that's played together before, and really, I don't see Virginia having the same kind of 3-point shot this game. They're not a great shooting team if you look at their past stats and for individual players. And with a solid Tennessee defense defensively, it's going to be hard to get their shot. I just think Tennessee is one of the best scoring teams in the nation right now. I'd lay the big number personally.
Yeah, it's so disgusting. I really, really want to bet Virginia. I'm not going to. And one of the reasons is I tried to pick off Tennessee earlier with that Louisville team, and I got absolutely blasted in that game. I will say about Louisville really quickly though, we're going to know a lot about them by the time December 10th rolls around, because their next 2 weeks of their schedule, they've got teams like Duke, Indiana, Mississippi, Kentucky. I mean, so they're going to be running through the gauntlet. But as far as this game's concerned, with this total being what it is, and we feeling all the same way, is that it's going to be a struggle for both teams to shoot. I'm going to get the team with a really good defense that has a huge height advantage in Virginia. That, yes, I agree with Andy that I don't think that they're going to be shooting 45% from deep all year long. But at the same time, if there's one way to beat or attempt to beat Tennessee, it's going to be shooting threes. They usually let that happen. Again, do I trust Virginia to make those shots on a neutral like this? Probably not, no. But they are going to take a whole bunch of threes. I can guarantee you that most likely. So it's just a matter of what rate they hit them at. Like I said, with the low total, I'd lean taking the points, but I really couldn't bet it myself personally. So it would just be Virginia or pass for sure.
Also, don't forget that Andy has SEC bias, and he hates all SEC teams except Georgia.
I don't.
Next game up, I don't know if Andy bet it, but I know that me and Scoop have bet it.
So we had to replace the Oklahoma State game, and neither one of us had looked at this, or we maybe had looked at it, and I was confused as hell when I looked.
I wasn't going to bet it, and then when the line dropped, then I bet it.
I want to bet San Francisco, but at the same time, Memphis is the stupidest, weirdest, crappiest, horrible team to bet against, because they can show up and just shoot the lights out. They can show up and play like an NBA team. They can run the floor. Like, they're ridiculous. So I was curious what you guys had, because I want to bet San Francisco, but Memphis is so confusing.
I did bet San Francisco, but I know that Scoop bet it as well. So Scoop, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, listen, this is a big game. I know Kyle isn't a proponent of early college basketball games meaning anything, but it does for teams in the West Coast Conference if you're looking at large bids. So for San Fran, this would be a high-quality win to put on their resume. They already had a nice one against Boise. Memphis would be a really solid one. I think this Memphis team is really good. I think they're better than last year, but this is a spot for San Fran, I feel. This is technically a neutral site, but the game's in San Francisco. So Memphis may be slightly better KenPom-wise, but this is definitely a well-matched up game for San Fran. This is also the second time Memphis has already traveled out west already in 4 games. I just love the way San Fran's playing right now. Tyrone Riley has been scoring a ton. They're crashing the boards well. Not to mention their defense has been really solid as well. Their opponents are shooting 27% from 3, 35% overall. They force 17 turnovers a game. I know Memphis might be a better team, but Penny Hardaway's teams are really sloppy with the ball. So with San Fran getting 17 turnovers a game, Memphis is already giving up 14 a game themselves. This team can go shot for shot with Memphis and has a better defense. So I'm definitely grabbing San Fran, which is essentially a home game for them.
Yeah, I 100% agree. I think that if you're paying attention to college basketball, you know that this is a little bit of a look-ahead spot, or at least people want to make it out to be, with UConn on deck in 4 days with Memphis. I don't really know how much stock. I don't know how much stock to put into that. I don't know if I don't really know if Memphis even has a chance in that game. But again, they do have UConn on deck, so I will make that known. They've also played a really good schedule, 37th overall in Missouri, UNLV, and Ohio. But at the same time, San Francisco knows this building very, very well. Obviously, they haven't been tested. They've played only the 322nd ranked schedule in the country, but they looked really, really good against a Boise State team that I think is kind of similar to Memphis. I will give you that Memphis has a lot more talent, but Boise's big. Their guards are decent. And I just think that if you're a team like San Francisco and you have a guy like Marcus Williams and Ryan Beasley, who Beasley's a little bit young, but he has Riley behind him that can score. I think those three can contain the guards in Memphis. Like, I mean, I'm not a really big Tyrese Hunter fan. I know he's been all over the place. Haggerty's okay. And then they also have the size to match up with guys like Danger down below, what San Francisco does. So, again, I just think that there's a reason that this line is flipped to San Francisco was plus 1.5 last night. They're down to minus 1.5 now. I don't know what it is right now, but I think that's significant. I played San Francisco on the money line at like minus 120 or minus 115 or what have you, just in case. But again, I just think that San Francisco is going to force a lot more turnovers than Memphis is, and that's going to be the difference in this game. Andy?
Yeah, I agree with you guys. I think San Francisco. I wanted to hear what you guys said more. So this is San Francisco for me. I wouldn't bet Memphis. I hate betting their games. Probably won't bet it. I know these two did. So.
And that'll do it. Beaver?
I'm looking at the Oklahoma State game, and I feel
just a San Francisco glaze off by these fellas. Okay,
so typical.
So that's the end of the show, fellas. Toast was too busy watching the Merrill household to send me the community parlay picks. No, but I'm sure he was busy doing some other things.
I have them written down actually.
No, it's not a big deal. We'll get back to that tomorrow, and we'll be back with that. You guys will be back for the NCAA midnight show as well. So we'll be back with that, and obviously back with the regularly scheduled programming tomorrow. Everybody have a wonderful night, and most importantly, stay